Hello and welcome everyone to the beautiful course of Operating System for Beginners. Well, operating system is a system software that manages computer hardware and software resources and provides common services for computer programs. For example, DOS, Unix, Windows, and Macintosh. You might be aware about these operating systems as well. Even on mobile, you have the operating systems that you use, such as Android, and on iPhones, you have iOS. So it's basically a system software. So in a computer system, we find four main components. First is the hardware. So as you can see, we have the hardware here. Then we have the operating system, right? And the application software and the user. So the operating system manages all of the software and the hardware on the computer and controls the execution of the user's program. Now we're going to talk about different generations of the operating system, about the history of operating system. So the operating systems can be divided into four generations. The first generation is from 1945 to 55, which was the generation of vacuum tubes and plug boards. The second generation from 55 to 65. The third one from 65 to 80. And the last one, which is the current generation, the fourth generation of the operating system, which is 1980 to present. So in the first generation of the operating system, we had vacuum tubes and plug boards. Digital computers were not really constructed until World War II. Calculating engines with mechanical relays were built, but later they got replaced by vacuum tubes because of the slow speed. All the problems were simple calculation with no operating system. By 1950s, punch cards were introduced and programs were written on cards. Now in the second generation, which is from 1955 to 60, transistors led to the development of computer systems. These machines were known as mainframe and were locked in air-conditioned rooms. Then the bash system was introduced to reduce the wasted time in the computer. A tray full of jobs was collected in the input room and read into magnetic tape, which was mounted on a tape drive. The batch operating system was then loaded to read the job and run it. So the third generation was from 1960 to 1980. Until 1960s, there were two types of computer systems. First is the scientific and second is commercial, which used integrated circuits having performance advantage over second generation. The third generation operating system introduced multi-programming. So what do you think multi-programming is? Well, multi-programming means that the processor is not idle while a job is being completed. So as you can see, for instance, there are multiple tasks being performed over here. You have a media player open, you have calculator that's being used, maybe a paint. So the processor is not idle while one particular job is being operated or executed. Now the fourth generation is the current generation, which is from 1980 up until present. And personal computers were easy to create with the development of large-scale integrated circuits. Microcomputers were cheaper than the mini-computers, making it possible for individuals to own them. The advent of personal computers led to the growth of network, which created network operating system and distributed operating system. And we will discuss in detail about what the network operating system and distributed operating systems are in depth. So now we're going to discuss about what are different types of operating systems. Well, we have multi-programming operating system, wherein a single processor executes multiple programs. And we just took an example in the earlier video, wherein the processor is performing multiple tasks. So that is your multi-programming operating system. Then you have multi-processing system, wherein multiple processor execute multiple programs simultaneously, which means at the same time. You also have network operating system, which is basically a collection of physical interconnected computers where each machine runs an entire operating system. And then you have the distributed operating system, which is a collection of network connected independent computers where the entire operating system is itself distributed across the network. So the key difference between the network operating system and distributed operating system is that in network operating system, each system runs an entire operating system. However, in distributed operating system, the entire operating system is distributed across the network, and each of the independent computers are connected through a network. Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to talk about the functions of operating systems. So what are different functions of the operating system? Well, the first function is the process management, which means the CPU executes a large number of programs while its main concern is execution of the user program. The CPU is also needed for other system activities. These activities are processes. So what is a process? Well, process is just a program in execution. A program which is in execution state. Another function of the operating system is memory management. We all know that memory is limited, so that is why it is important that the operating system manages the memory efficiently. So memory is most expensive part of the computer system, and memory is basically a large array of words or bytes, each with its own address. There are various algorithms that depend on a particular situation to manage the memory, and we will discuss these algorithms a bit later in depth. Another function of operating system is file management. Now, file management is one of the most visible services of an operating system. Computers can store information in several different physical forms. Magnetic tapes, disks, and drums are the most common form of storing the information. The operating system implements the abstract concept of the file by managing mass storage devices such as types and disks.